This title is Dday, the biggest trick in history, World War II special. It's like a special video. Yes, that was it.
Deceiving the enemy in wartime is an age-old practice, but during World War II,
Okay,
it reaches
given
new
that
heights using the latest technology with some spectacular results.
technology.
January 1943, the Allies decide to increase their deception efforts in preparation for an invasion of Europe. It will eventually create a new division of talented, artistic men and women from all walks of life that will help steer this war in a new direction, the Ghostarmy.
The Ghostarmy. It's like a Lord of Rings.
I'm Indy Nidell, and this is a World War II news flash straight out of the Nidell War Room. Now, as you may know, we're going to make a 24-hour live event around D-Day to come out in June 2023. And this video has something to do with D-Day. For now, back to deception operations.
Okay, back to the video.
At the United Nations Alliance Conference in Casablanca in January, the Western Allied leaders, headed by American President Franklin Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, agree that an invasion of northwestern Europe can only happen full scale in 1944, but that an invasion of Italy can happen now in 1943. That invasion has actually been in planning already since late 1942. And back in November, the British began a large-scale diversion and confusion operation. This has all been coordinated by the top-secret London Controlling Section, LCS, headed by Controlling Officer John Bevan, and operated by a small group of colorful deception planners, which includes Peter Fleming, James Bond author Ian Fleming's elder brother. Ian is a secret agent in the MI6, by the way. Well, I guess he's not secret anymore, right? No. Anyhow, for the Mediterranean operations, it's Dudley Clark in North Africa that carries out Plan Warehouse. Stage A of this operation has already led the Germans to believe that the Allies will land on Crete, first supposedly on January 7th, 1943, which in late January has been and will again be postponed several times, leaving the Germans waiting for an enemy that never comes. Stage B is supposed to be a feint that, after securing North Africa, American Commander Dwight Eisenhower would invade Sicily and then Greece, where his forces and British Commander Harold Alexander's would link up after Alexander takes Crete, and then they head north through the Balkans. The actual real plan, however, was first Sardinia, then Italy. I say was because at Casablanca, the powers that be changed their minds. Now they will invade through Sicily, although still not go to Greece. So it's back to the drawing board for Clark. The operation to come will involve some spectacular tricks with leaked false information, fake landing forces, troop movements that look like they happen but never do, naval maneuvers that are only ghost ships, an exaggerated buildup of forces, masses of phony radio communications from all over the world, and much more. It will even have an elaborate leak of fake battle plans that involves a planted corpse. It is designed to keep the Germans nervously occupied, expecting mayhem in the Balkans, an invasion in the south of France, one in Norway, invasions that will change scope and date all the time, further confusing the enemy. The overall aim was to keep the Germans from reinforcing the Eastern Front and to get them in the wrong places to counter any actual invasion. We'll see how that goes in our coverage of the war. To prepare the invasion of Western Europe in 1944, they decide to appoint a joint chief of staff to Supreme Allied Command, Cossack. Although he is not named at this point, spoiler, it will be British Acting Lieutenant General Frederick Morgan by next month. His brief will not only be to prepare the invasion itself, but also an elaborate camouflage and deception scheme extending over the whole summer with a view to pinning the enemy in the West and keeping alive the expectation of large-scale cross-channel operations in 1943. This would include at least one amphibious feint with the object of bringing on an air battle employing the Metropolitan Royal Air Force and the U.S. 8th Air Force. These plans will involve the Americans, and back in America, deception units have been in training since last year, with people recruited with special talents that may come in handy. They are a motley crew, from ordinary folk with artistic talents to audio engineers, designers, architects, carpenters, Hollywood set builders, taxi drivers, teachers, journalists, authors, and magicians. Yes, magicians. Now in 1943, more and more of them will be transferred to Europe and North Africa to be trained by the LCS. What the British and the Americans come up with will be one of the most spectacular feints in military history, but it will be no walk in the park, with several false starts along the way. Almost 1 year from now, in January 1944, it will lead to the creation of the 23rd Headquarters Division, the Ghostarmy. It is they who will have the job of leading the Germans astray before D-Day. On the way, they will completely reinvent military deception on an industrial scale over just a few short months. It is from their unit patch that we take our Ghost logo for the Time Ghost Army, in honor of the creative and non-lethal methods they will use to help bring this conflict to its end. On June 6, 2023, we will cover the invasion of Northwestern Europe, D-Day, in a full 24-hour real-time stream. We've already begun the work. At the moment, we're in the research and writing phase. Our team is working hard to get down every possible detail of that invasion. And moreover, the mostly untold story of how the news of D-Day traveled across the world as it happened on that very day, hour by hour, infusing new hope in a world tried by war. We've been scouring many archives in 4 countries for audio recordings of the radio coverage, digging up the actual situation reports of the day, reading books, personal journals, news reports, dispatches, letters.
Okay.
It's an insane amount of information, but it's really fascinating. Okay, did you know, for example, that writer Ernest Hemingway, still recovering from a drunk driving accident 2 weeks earlier, was on one of the landing craft in front of Omaha Beach and supposedly ended up helping the pilot find his way back on course after the current took them off course and into the enemy firing line. That is one of many, many stories we will bring you, but not just from Normandy, from everywhere and from everyone affected, which was everyone. In the Soviet Union, Japan, Germany, Britain, Brazil, the whole wide world. By March, we will be in the actual scripting phase. Then in June and July, we will go to Normandy to record the first on-location material. Then into the studio for more recordings, assembling the material, doing graphics, 3D renderings, maps, and a whole lot more, which is all going to take pretty much a whole year, creating what will be the most extensive and spectacular documentary on D-Day ever made, with an angle, with a spin never before seen. We want you to join that effort. The most spectacular way you can do that is by making one of the 24 main episodes of D-Day into your very own memorial. You choose who or what you will dedicate it to. As long as they didn't do anything really criminal or completely unethical in this war, they can be from any side and at any level or rank. The memorial will look something like this. Volantis Athanasiou supported this episode and dedicates it to the Cyprus Regiment, a British colonial unit that saw action already in France in 1940. These Cypriot, Greek, and Turkish volunteers then went on to fight side by side in most of the British theaters of war. 100 of them fell, trying to hold back the Wehrmacht in the events we cover this week. And when they were overrun in Greece, many of them slipped out of uniform, mixed in with the local population, and joined the Greek resistance. So far, we have 5 memorials booked, so there are 19 left to go. And I will see you next time. Excelsior!
Strict is kind of intended. I guess you have to really use those tricks. Is why eventually in this video. So maybe I should do the Apocalypse Now series. And I'm way to cross on for YouTube.